cross your fingers, cross your toes, because this is a fight that we've been looking forward to since about early April when Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov was squashed. Then we got an interim lightweight title fight between Ferguson and Gaethje, originally scheduled for April 18th. Tachi Palace, Fight Island, who knows? The card was scrapped, and now we finally get it. May the 9th, it's scheduled. Again, cross your fingers, between Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje for that belt match. Very exciting fight, very fan-friendly type of style. This could be a fight of the night. This could be a fight of the year caliber fight. I mean, Tony Ferguson hasn't lost a fight since he lost to Michael Johnson 12 fights ago. And for Justin Gaethje, since joining from World Series of Fighting, it's either kill or be killed. He fought his first fight against Michael Johnson. That was a fight of the year. Then he fought Dustin Poirier and Edson Barboza. But the last time I checked, Dustin Poirier would go on to become the UFC interim lightweight champ. The fight didn't go well against Khabib. But then he fought Eddie Alvarez, lost. But the last time I checked again, Eddie Alvarez was a Bellator champ and a UFC champ. So you can't take anything from him there. And for Tony Ferguson, he hasn't fought to a decision since he fought Rafael dos Anjos in 2016. Wow. This is a great matchup. What do you make of this one?
So I think it's really interesting because both guys kind of played at each other's strengths and weaknesses. Justin Gaethje, here's the thing. I can't really break down the fight better than he already has. Justin Gaethje has openly said, I have about 3 rounds to knock him out. Afterwards, he's going to elbow me, cut me, and probably choke me out. And that's really the best description I can give you for this fight. I think Justin Gaethje is going to get off to an amazing start. I would not be surprised if Ferguson's on his back. And I don't mean he's going to go for a takedown, maybe get tripped up. He's going to get dropped at some point in this fight. I do think that the heart and the chin of Tony Ferguson will kind of prevail in that. And Ferguson, as the fight goes on, is the opposite of Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje, he's kind of like Rumble in that he brings that big storm, but he can prolong it for quite a bit longer than Rumble. Rumble just has like a couple big explosions. Gaethje has 2.5 rounds where it is hell to fight him. He's going to throw power shots, volume, leg kicks, everything. But after that, he does get tired, and it's just because of how aggressive he is in his style. If you look at the Eddie Alvarez fight and the Poirier fight, Eddie Alvarez went to the body a lot of Justin Gaethje, because Gaethje, what he likes to do is, when he's throwing shots, he will card up, and he leaves his body wide open. And if you are a really technical striker, like a guy like Dustin Poirier, eventually you'll start to see the holes in that defense. And if you're Eddie Alvarez, you'll go to the body, which will make him get tired even more quick. But that's the problem. The way you beat Justin Gaethje is withstand the storm, get him tired, and beat him. What does Tony Ferguson do in every Tony Ferguson fight we've ever seen? He could be fighting me, or he could be fighting like Khabib. He's probably going to have that 5 seconds of like, oh, no, okay, definitely not against me. But it doesn't really matter who his opponent is. There's always going to be a little bit of a rocky situation in there, but Ferguson will prevail. And I think the cardio is such a big factor in this fight. Not saying Gaethje has bad cardio, but he realizes that his style doesn't really go for, Gaethje's not going to have a lot of 5th round knockouts on his record just because he's either going to get you finished early or he's going to get finished late. And that's why this fight's going to be so interesting.
And that's all we've seen against top tier lightweights in the UFC. And a lot of thing that I'm sure people making fight picks like we are, people on ESPN, people wherever, they're going to count on Justin Gaethje's wrestling pedigree. And it's legit. I mean, it's as legit as it gets. But we haven't seen him utilize really powerful offensive wrestling since his amateur days. If you want to go back and watch some of his early fights, he was picking guys up and slamming them and then finishing them by ground and pound. But we haven't seen that since, the early amateur, early pro days. He hasn't done that. He just throws caution to the wind, throws wild looping power shots, and that's how he gets things done. And every now and again, he'll mix in a Rolling Thunder, which is somehow available in the UFC 3 game form. It's crazy. But for Tony Ferguson, he tends to get himself into really wonky situations in just about every fight. The Anthony Pettis fight is one of them. The Lando Venata fight is one of them. And it's weird because not that he fights to the level of his competition, but he just does crazy, weird, wild things, and we've come to know him as such. I mean, he was getting ready for his, the 3rd booking against Khabib Nurmagomedov, UFC 223, when he tripped on a power cord or TV cord and tore his ACL. 6 months later, with no sparring, he comes back.
Not even no sparring, no rehab either. He took his rehab into his own hands.
Yeah, but, and then comes back and wins a fight. Like, he is an absolute wild man, and oh, by the way, on April 17th, before the fight that was scheduled, and it was already scrapped, Tony Ferguson at home decided to weigh in at 155 pounds. You don't have to, Tony, but he does anyway, because he is El Cucuy.
And you talking about weird things that Tony Ferguson does. I think the wrestling of Justin Gaethje, I don't think he should shoot for a takedown. If this is the last fight to change your style for.
Kevin Lee tried it.
Kevin Lee did try it, but it's so different. It's not even close because Kevin Lee can't hit like Gaethje can. Gaethje on his feet is going to do something that's really going to frustrate Ferguson. Ferguson won't be able to just traditionally take him down. Do you know what Ferguson's amazing at though? And he did it to Edson Barboza, and I can't stop thinking about it.
Tony Ferguson loves Imanari rolls.
That's exactly what he's going to go for. I think Tony Ferguson's going to go for an Imanari roll because he would rather be underneath but at least be in a grappling exchange, then try to go for the takedown and exhaust himself. We see Damian Maia do it a lot. Damian Maia shoots for a takedown to pull you on top of him, and I feel like Tony's going to have a similar game plan because he doesn't get enough credit. I know he's a wacky guy kind of outside of the cage, but when it comes to fight IQ, I don't know if there's many guys better than Tony. I know, and please let me elaborate. He does wild things, but it hasn't not worked out for him yet. That's the thing. You can do crazy things if it works out for you. And of course, it always works until it doesn't. Very famous saying. I don't think Gaethje's the guy who's going to make him forced to change his style. I don't think Gaethje's going to be able to put him away. I really do think, and this could be a bit of a hot take, I think Tony Ferguson's going to run over Justin Gaethje. I think Justin Gaethje might have a few moments. He might get a knockdown, don't get me wrong. And you're probably thinking, how do you get run over if you get a knockdown? He'll have a few good moments. But as the fight wears on after that first round, I don't think Gaethje does anything Ferguson hasn't seen before. And for that reason alone, I think Ferguson's going to win by TKO.
Odds makers seeing this one very closely. Gaethje minus 180 favorite to Ferguson a minus 180 favorite. Gaethje's plus 150 underdog status over on Tapology out of plus 600 voters. 68% picking Ferguson. Now, when they're picking Ferguson, it's laid out all sorts of different ways. 41% predicting a knockout, 40% predicting a submission, the rest predicting a decision. With Gaethje, 91% a knockout, and then the rest with a decision. So, yeah, it's pretty cut and dry in terms of what people are seeing. And for Justin Gaethje, we haven't seen a decision in the UFC. We haven't seen a decision in a long time. For Tony Ferguson, his last decision was in 2016 against Rafael dos Anjos. That will throw a lot of different looks at
altitude, too, which does, he beat a guy known for his really good cardio at altitude against a volume striker. That's insane. And if you're able to do that at altitude, you're able to do that against Justin Gaethje.
And for Gaethje, the one thing that you have to worry about your Imanari roll scenario, every now and again it goes very, very well and it works out for you. I mean, look at Ryan Hall against BJ Penn. Yeah. That's an example. And every now and again it ends up and it's a totally different set of circumstances, like Rory McDonald against Douglas Lima.
This is the point. I don't think he's going to win via he's not going to win via an Imanari roll. He's just going to go for one because in that sequence, if you go back and watch the Edson Barbosa Tony Ferguson fight, that's what he did just to initiate a grappling sequence. If I have my arms on your leg and I'm isolating it, at least we're on the ground. And that's what I mean. He's going to use that to sweep and get on top, but I feel like we're going to at least see an Imanari roll, and he'll use that as sort of a defunct way to go for a takedown. That's all. I don't think he's going to win by ankle lock to Justin Gaethje. I'm not that dumb. I think what he's going to do, though, Gaethje will fatigue at a certain point, and once Tony Ferguson gets you up against the cage, I consider calling the cops sometimes when I see Tony Ferguson get someone up against the cage. They're going to get cut so many times, and you can just see it in their face. There's a certain point when you fight Tony Ferguson where you're just like, this has got to stop eventually. And not that Justin Gaethje has zero quitting him, don't get me wrong, but there's a point for everybody where the ref, your corner, somebody's going to come in and want to stop it, and that's what Tony's going to do. I think Tony, I can't believe I'm going to say this, I'm going to get so specific. Tony's going to win by a doctor stoppage again, I think.
Really? I mean, we saw it in the Cerrone fight.
And Pettis.
You've seen the pictures on Reddit and on social media of all the past opponents of Tony Ferguson just absolutely into a pulp. And for Justin Gaethje, it's some of the same stuff. I mean, Justin Gaethje's run over the fights that he's won. And even in the Michael Johnson one, it was close until it wasn't. This is a really close fight. It's a really tough one to try and predict. I'm going to side with Tony Ferguson, but like you said, if Tony Ferguson goes for some sort of weird takedown, Justin Gaethje has that defensive wrestling ability and the power in his hands that he could certainly just catch an odd angle and get a finish that way. I wouldn't be surprised if Gaethje gets the win. I know we've said that a few times in some of these fights. It's one of those ones where...
Honestly, this is one of the more confident picks for me personally. I just think Tony Ferguson's so much better than a lot of other guys, and I think it requires someone who has really, really good technique to beat Tony Ferguson. And I'm kind of biased towards Dustin Poirier, but when you look at his boxing, it's really crisp. Gaethje has the power of Poirier, but he doesn't really have that crisp technique of, I'm going to throw shots straight down the middle and move off. He's going to just go, okay, I'm going to throw leg kicks and overhands until something lands. I don't know if that's enough, that's all.
High Muay Thai stance, the low leg kicks, and the power shots from Justin Gaethje against a true bugaboo of Tony Ferguson. And we're really looking forward to it. The plus 5 minutes for our main and co-main, the title fights, 2 minutes for our prelims and the rest of our main card. Really looking forward to it for UFC 249. But not just that, we have 3 cards in 8 days, so you're going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. So make sure you subscribe and follow along on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us at Craig Allen, at Matt Allen, and at Fight Night Picks. And Matt, we are so excited for the return of sports and return of MMA. And as we always like to say, with Fight Night Picks, let's get into it.